welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GA chapter show. Let's get into it, starting with the Aiden situation. Now, we kicked things off this week seeing Cameron looking in pretty rough shape. Turns out he got into a fight with another student in his class over Aiden. Apparently he called Aiden a fairy boy in daytime TV. You probably can't use more derogatory words that start with the letter F, if you catch my drift. So basically, Elizabeth and Franco gave Cameron a stern talking to, and Cameron wished that Aiden would just be a little less gay. And I'm here thinking, I'm not mad at Cameron for it. The thing is, what is Aiden doing that is so gay besides baking? Like, we don't see what's going on in the classroom. Part of the weird thing about doing a storyline that involves a kid that young is that they can't really utilize the kid because he's so young. So we're not seeing a lot of the bullying happen on screen, if at all. We're seeing like him playing video games and Gaiden showing up on the screen, things like that, but we're not seeing anything else. Franco actually comes up with a pretty decent idea and goes to Nina for help. He asks her to get Charlotte to become friends with Aiden so that hopefully the rest of the class will stop bullying him. That's probably the best idea they've come up with this whole time. I mean, Elizabeth going to Lucas and Brad to invite them over for dinner is fine and dandy, but we've seen that obviously Aiden has no problem being himself because kids are bullying him for it. Whatever his self is, whether it's gay or whatever. The problem is the bullying itself. The tricky thing about bullying at that young of an age is that yes, you can get teachers and parents involved, but at the end of the day, those kids that are bullying the other kid are going to do it behind those teachers' backs. And sure, they can get in trouble every single time they do it, but there's enough people in the classroom that someone's going to continue to do it. And that's the problem with kids, is that they're kind of following suit to others' examples. So that's why I think that Franco's idea to get Charlotte into Aiden's good graces is a pretty decent idea, but at the same time it could also backfire on Charlotte and have her a target of bullying as well. Me thinks that would be karma though, because Charlotte is a brat, and I'm gonna say it again and again and again. She's a brat. Oh well, I guess time will tell. Now let's talk a bit more about Nina, because she is still oblivious to Valentin being Valentin. And I loved it this week when Spencer paid her a visit and straight up told her that he was being blackmailed by Valentin, and on top of that, telling her to open her eyes and take off the blinders. I laughed so hard watching that scene. Like, it's to see a kid like be able to see Nina getting manipulated so easily and Nina just acting so dumb. It's just hilarious to me. Valentin fully intended on going after full custody of Charlotte while Lulu's out of town, but when he saw that Spencer was talking to Nina, he decided to back down as a show of good faith. Like, I'm still gonna blackmail you, but I'm gonna take it easy so that you'll back off. It seems like everyone surrounding Nina is drinking the stupid juice because Dr. Obrecht accidentally let it slip to Maxie and Peter that Sasha was not Nina's daughter, and Maxie and Peter just kind of brushed it off. And of course, Dr. Obrecht kind of went with it and said, oh, she is her daughter. That's great news. And then she goes to Valentin and they exchange some words and some threats. Valentin, with his smug, entitled smirk, was like, your safety relies on me and Nina's happiness, so watch your back. It just, oh, I cannot wait for everything to come out, because you know it will. He's just, I can't even put it into words. He frustrates me so much. Like I said in the past, I'd want this to happen sooner rather than later. We all know that Michelle is leaving the role and that someone else is stepping in, but we've seen Michelle's Nina get manipulated by Valentin for so long that it just wouldn't seem right if it didn't play out on screen with her. Now let's talk about Sasha for a second, and I mean this in a general sense before we talk about her stories. On paper, Sasha is completely unnecessary to the canvas. I mean, she is a daughter for hire, conning Nina. She doesn't really have too much of an active role among the rest of the cast. However, the character is surprisingly compelling for someone that could just leave so easily. That is a credit to the actress that plays her, because she's doing a really good job at showing a crisis of conscience. You can tell that she feels really bad about what she's doing to Nina, but obviously not bad enough to not do it anymore, but bad enough that you feel sorry for her a little bit. And plus, now we'll get into the storylines, she has some smoking hot chemistry with Michael Corinthos Quartermaine. This is the first time that Michael has been interesting to me since the whole Nell storyline. I mean, Michael is about as interesting as watching paint dry most of the year, which sucks because his last names are Quartermaine and Corinthos. By all accords, this guy should be the most interesting, compelling character on the show, and he is so freaking boring, and this random character who you could literally take or leave is making him interesting. So I'm okay with her sticking around as long as she helps Michael, show signs of life. For the record, if the writers would just get their shit together, this wouldn't be a problem for Michael in the first place. Man. Speaking of the Quartermaines, it's a somber feeling in the Quartermaine mansion because Kim and Oscar have moved in due to Oscar's illness. He's gonna finish off his life in the Quartermaine mansion. He actually asked Ned and Olivia to plan his funeral to take the burden off of his parents, which I thought was very brave. Jocelyn, of course, paid him a visit and started to work on a song for the nurses' ball with him, and Oscar was just showing signs of being really tired and very ill. And she is not doing a good job at putting up a front. I mean, of course I can't blame her. She's a young girl, and this is heartbreaking for her. But I'm seeing that Oscar is a lot more brave about the situation than she is, which is crazy. I mean, this is what's happening to him, and he's the one showing the bravery most of all. I'm hoping that Jocelyn, in these next few days or weeks or however long it is until he passes, sees his courage and gets inspired by that to show up an even braver face than she can do. I mean, of course, when things go down, I'm thinking that's when her dad, Jax, will return to the screen, and he'll be there for her, of course. But in the meantime, Oscar being brave should hopefully eventually help Jocelyn be just as brave as he is. For those of you that watched that very similar story involving Robin and Stone, you guys saw that Robin did put on a brave face in front of Stone consistently all the way until he died. So I really want to see Jocelyn do that in the final days. I mean, if you're gonna repeat history like this, you might as well go all the way, right? Alright, now let's talk about my favorite subject, Shiloh and Dawn of Day. So at the start of the week, Jason goes to the hospital with the DOD cup and asks Elizabeth to get it tested for drugs. She gives it to Brad, and unfortunately for Jason, Brad is involved in Dawn of Day, and Shiloh shows up at the hospital and actually sees the cup and manages to manipulate Brad into giving false results to Jason. He didn't even test it, I don't think. He just said, nope, there's nothing in it but tea and valerian, and Jason was like, no way. Now, beyond that riveting plot point that only drags out the storyline further, nothing else really happened this week with that Dawn of Day story. I mean, we did see her family sort of covering for Christina's whereabouts with Shiloh and with Julian, different people, so that they don't suspect anything. But beyond that, the storyline hasn't moved with Christina. We got a whole week of nothing. Obviously, we are one episode behind because of the tragic news that happened in Paris, but I mean, there's no other reason for the storyline to go as slow as it is beyond the fact that in a couple of weeks, it'll be May, and that's when May sweeps will happen, and perhaps that's when the climax of the story will actually show, I hope. I have a feeling that that's going to happen with the Ryan Chamberlain storyline as well. As you guys saw, Ava was being followed last week, but this week we learned that it was actually Curtis who was following her. Turns out that Julian hired him as her bodyguard, and Ava wasn't too happy about it. Ava still plans to go full vigilante against Ryan Chamberlain by hiring a boy toy to make him jealous. She recruits Franco, who immediately turns it down, and her next victim is going to be Scott Baldwin, as I predicted, and I'm looking forward to seeing it if he agrees to do it. Meanwhile, Laura is still trying to fix her marriage with Kevin. I mean, it's not an easy thing to get past the fact that his secrets led to her daughter being stabbed, but they love each other, and so by the end of the week, they were sharing a kiss. But unfortunately for them, it looks like Ryan may have sent them a helping hand to put an obstacle in their rekindled romance, if you catch my drift. I'll give you guys one guess as to what is in the package that was sent to Kevin by Ryan Chamberlain that is no bigger than the size of his hand. Anyway, last but not least, Anna spent the week still upset over the fact that Robin could not be her daughter. However, at the end of the week, she saw a piece of jewelry that apparently confirms to Anna that she is, in fact, Robin's mother. I don't know how it makes sense, and I don't care how it makes sense. I don't care if they don't even explain it. I'm just glad that we are over this. Let's just get on to the fact that Peter is not her son. Okay? Alright. Now, if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys next time.